come out to this tree, just about 5 minutes drive from my house. I've come out with one film stock today, and the Intrepid 5.4. I'm going to be shooting infrared film. I've got the Rollei Infrared 400. Now, I've done a few test shots with this film. It is a pain in the neck, I must admit. It's I've had issues with loading and unloading the film. It's very thin emulsion, so I've basically got my understairs cupboard. I've turned it into kind of like a dark room or a dark area. So rather than changing the film in the changing bag that I've got, I'm now using the understairs cupboard. So it gives me a bit more space, and it lets the film breathe as well. Because last time I used it, I had all kinds of problems. I ended up with more scratches on it than Run DMC. So yeah, I've come down with one film stock. I've got about 6 sheets of it today. It's very tricky with exposure, so but it's an ideal conditions today for infrared. You've got a nice blue sky. This tree in front of me, this tree's got some new growth on it. New leaves come out, so they're normally quite good in reflecting the infrared light. And obviously this sort of cornfield as well as a foreground. So I'm going to get set up and hopefully get some exposures on infrared. I've got the tree in the background, all this corn right down low, nice low angle with the 5.4. But yeah, it should turn out quite nice. Well, I can confirm it's very warm under this dark loft today. Here's my composition, very simple composition. The tree filling the frame. As you can see, it's upside down and back to front, but no worries there. I don't need any movements on this shot because I'm fairly low down. I'm going to use an aperture. I mean, I'm wide open at the moment and everything's pretty sharp, barring the very sort of front of the foreground there. So I'll stop down to probably f22, which should be plenty. And hopefully I can work out my exposure in a minute and start exposing some frames of infrared. Right, well that's focused. I'm going to stop down to f22, and that gives me enough depth of field from the very front of the shot, which starts probably about 5-6 feet away from me. With this lens, I'm using a 150mm lens here. Could do with a little bit wider, to be honest, but I don't really want to sort of go traipsing back into the corn here. So this shot's quite nice. It fills the frame. Like I say, f22, nice blue sky above us. So yeah, I'm going to get the infrared filter on and then work out my exposure. Right, okay. I've got my infrared film loaded up. I've got my IR. I've got an IR 850 infrared filter on. Now the 850, they suggest around 15 stops extra exposure. So I'm going to try. I've got 6 frames here. I've got 6 sheets of infrared film. So I'm going to try different exposures. So my base exposure, which I've taken a reading off the foreground here, which is quite sort of neutral compared to the rest of the scene. My base exposure is 125th of a second. That's at f22 and ISO 400. So I need to work back from there now. Right, I'm using my reciprocity app at the moment on my phone. So my base exposure of 125th of a second plus 15 stops. That brings me to just over 4.5 minutes. So I'm going to try one at probably 4 minutes first. Give that a go. One thing I'm often asked about being out in the landscape and shooting in fields and things like this is about kind of permission, and you know, whether or not you're actually supposed to be there and you're allowed to walk across the land. I've never had any issues. I mean, this field today, I mean, obviously you've got to take care. I mean, I've got these tracks behind me that lead right up to the gate at the top of the field, so I've basically used them to get here, and I'll use them to get back. I don't like to go sort of traipsing across the middle of fields and stuff like that, just, especially when you've got crops growing. Same with flowers. You know, if you've got like bluebell woods and flowers like that, the worst thing you can do is go traipsing across the flowers to get your shot. It's not really not something that I like doing. But yeah, it's like I say, today it's not too bad. This track leads all the way through the field, so I'm basically not doing any damage. Alright, my next exposure. So I'm going overexposed now. So this is going to be a 6. Well, I'm going to go for a 6-minute exposure. So the last one was 4.5 minutes. You notice as well, I've covered the back of the camera up now with dark cloth. It's long exposures like this, the film is kind of prone to light leakage and stuff like that, so I'm just making doubly sure. I mean, I haven't had any problems yet, but it should be fine. So just as a precaution, just to cover that up. So I've got my the reciprocity app that I use, got a little timer in it. So here we go for 6 minutes. Don't worry, I won't let you sit there for 6 minutes watching this. Well, these exposures are long, but I've got a range there. I've taken 6 sheets, so I've gone from 8 minutes right back to a minute exposure, all in between as well. So I've not had much luck with this stuff so far, but hopefully you'll see the results on here before I do. I've had quite a bit of a trial lately with this film. Hopefully, despite these initial results here, I shot 6 frames on this shoot, and I'm glad to say that I've got some great results actually. Despite the exposure problems and things in the past, out of the 6 frames, I've got, I think it's four usable frames. So I'll discount that one. You can see there's not much contrast and detail here, so that's going to have to go. This one, exposure wise, is fine. Nice and dense, plenty of detail there. The only problem with this one is it's slightly soft on the right hand branch, and some of the trees in the background are slightly soft as well, but it's still usable, but not perfect. These 3 are all pretty much spot on. Out of the 3, I think this one here, it's not as contrasty as the others, so again it's usable, but sharpness wise it's fine, but let's say because of the lack of contrast in that one, I'll put that one to one side. Now these 2, I'm really pleased with these. These are nigh on the same exposure. I did take 2 6-minute exposures, so I know this is the 6-minute one. So yeah, I'm really pleased with this, and I'm more than happy now to know the exposure tolerance of this film and what sort of thing I'm going to be exposing at, especially with the red infrared filter on. I say these are perfect. The sharpness is good. The tones are good, everything's good. So like I say, despite the initial problems with this film, with loading, unloading, scratches on it, that sort of thing, and obviously exposure wise, I think I've kind of nailed it. If I was being fussy, this particular shot, it would have been nice with some sort of white puffy clouds, but let's say overall it's nice. It's kind of worked out better than I expected, so yeah, not bad at all. Right, I'm going to go back and get cooled off now. I'm sweltering. I hope you've enjoyed this one. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more of these. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.